Hello buddies, welcome back. I'm here with another video about cloud pen testing. Let's start with what's your take in this? How secure do you think the cloud is? Can the cloud be hacked? If yes, how to protect it? What can the providers do about it? What can the customers do to protect the cloud? Well, let's dive deep in and find out. Cloud computing is an emerging technology that delivers computing services such as online business applications, online data storage, and web mail over the internet. Cloud implementation enables a distributed workforce, reducing the organization's expenses. Because of these benefits, many business organizations nowadays are migrating their data and infrastructure to a cloud-based environment. So, however, the cloud environment also poses many threats and risks to the organization. Attackers are targeting vulnerabilities in the cloud software to gain unauthorized access to the valuable data stored in it. In the current scenario, cloud security plays a major role for both individuals and businesses. So, in this video, we will discover various techniques used for hacking the cloud environment, which reveals the underlying vulnerabilities. So, understanding these attacks and vulnerabilities helps both the cloud service provider as well as the cloud customer in implementing appropriate security policies and measures to protect the cloud infrastructure from evolving cybersecurity threats. So, the question is, what happens when the cloud is hacked? Alright. Though the cloud is physically more secure and stronger, the ease of use has led to a boon in many applications and databases, increasing the complexity and configuration, which is difficult to manage and monitor. And the more difficult a cloud configuration is to monitor, the more opportunity there are for vulnerabilities. When more applications and tools are stored in the cloud, more people will need to access it, and it is easier to grant them access by simply unlocking some security tools such as the firewalls or the router configurations. So this is where attackers can easily walk right through these open doors, putting sensitive corporate data in risk. Security bypassing cloud attacks have led to high-profile breaches at Instagram, Docker Hub of the events pertaining to cloud attack. One of India's largest hospitals, the All India Institute of Medical Science, also known as AIIMS in New Delhi, was hit by a ransomware attack in November 2022. The attack cut down access to approximately 1.3 terabytes of data, impacting the hospital's electronic medical records system. Its patient scheduling and billing systems were completely affected, forcing the hospital to curtail its outpatient services for several days. Not only did this create inconvenience among the patients, it also resulted in substantial financial losses for the hospital. After this incident, AIIMS strengthened its network by switching it to a dedicated, secure local area network, among other security measures. So 6 months later, when another malware attack was mounted, it was fraud. And the second case study I would like to highlight happened in June of 2023. Automaker Toyota said approximately 2.6 lakhs of customers' data was exposed online due to a slightest misconfigured cloud environment. While the breach didn't expose massive amount of sensitive data, it still highlights that even a simple misconfiguration can open doors to hackers to steal data. It also shows how long it can take before a breach can be discovered. So with Toyota telling that the data was exposed from February 2015 to May 2023. With in-vehicle device IDs, map data updates, and several other vehicle and customer details have been potentially exposed externally. It's crucial to understand the cyber kill chain in cloud environment, because this is how we get to know where the system is vulnerable at. Alright, let's just get to know what cyber kill chain is about. It's likely that at some point you'll have a cloud account exposed. What's key is to minimize the risk, or what people call as the blast radius. The goal here is to add an additional layer of defense by implementing each account with least privilege policies to limit what a hacker can do once the account is exposed. So this goes beyond multi-factor authentication. I would say a cyber kill chain is defined as a life cycle of a cyber attack and identified as in various phases during a system intrusion. Although there could be numerous interpretations of what a cyber kill chain is and what are the stages of it, we'll just limit it to 5 to 6 stages on a high level. So let's start with recognition. During this phase, the information gathering happens. Threat actors collect as much information as possible about the intended target as possible. Weaponization will be the second phase. After performing thorough recognition and understanding the target, the hackers will have pretty much a very good idea on where and how to strike. So in this weaponization phase, an attacker builds their cyber weapons and prepare to strike the target. The third phase will be delivery. This is where an attack begins. During the delivery phase, the attacker delivers the malicious payload to the intended victim. This delivery can take the form of phishing emails or a waterhole attack, a supply chain attack, or even a accidentally dropped USB drive. So the next stage is exploit. After the malicious payload or the pen drive has been delivered, it must be exploited in the system before becoming active, right? So this phase exactly does that. While an exploit may attack a system's vulnerability, an attacker may also attempt to exploit the user by, let's say, either accessing their camera and taking their private photos and other private informations about the user. So the next phase is installation. So once the initial exploit has taken place and the attacker entered the system successfully, he will begin with installing all the malicious payloads, set up all the configurations and prepare for actually retrieving the data. So the installation phase usually consists of a series of installations and advanced codes. So persist will be the last phase. We should remember that most hackers will not simply pack up and go home once they have penetrated a system. In this final phase of a cyber kill chain, attackers will use whatever foothold they have gained and implement some form of persistence mechanism for long-time personal gain. Let's remember that a longer an attacker remains undetected, the longer an attacker can exploit their targets. So far, we have a good background knowledge. Gear up, friends, because this is where the fun part starts. So, let's continue to understand what exactly cloud pen testing is all about. Cloud penetration testing is also known as cloud security testing, is a cybersecurity practice that involves assessing the security of cloud-based services. It aims to identify vulnerabilities and potential threats in cloud environment to help organizations protect their resource hosted in a cloud. So cloud penetration testing encompasses a comprehensive examination of cloud services, including infrastructure as service, platform as service, software as service across various deployment models such as public, private and hybrid clouds. So why this approach is because this approach is essential so that the architecture and the security controls differ based on different specific cloud services and deployment model. There are two folds in the primary objective of cloud penetration testing: identifying security flaws and evaluating the overall security posture. So to achieve these goals, penetration testers utilize a wide range of tools and technologies. So these may include vulnerability scanning, network recognition, penetration testing to stimulate a real world attack actually, and social engineering as well to assess the human elements of security. So common vulnerabilities that we can uncover during a cloud pen testing include security access controls, misconfigured security groups, weak authentication mechanism, and data exposure. So these findings help organizations to find remedies to the issues before they can actually be exploited maliciously, thus reducing the risk of data breach, service disruption, and compliance violence. So in a nutshell, cloud penetration testing is an indispensable component of modern cybersecurity strategies. By proactively identifying and addressing security risks in cloud infrastructure and services, organizations can bolster their overall security posture, gain confidence in their cloud deployment, and safeguard the critical data and operations in an ever-evolving digital landscape.
Let's not forget that attackers use the cyber kill chain, and so should you. Some forms of security can be applied in each phase of the cyber kill chain.
For example, limiting leakage of sensitive information to public resources will limit the amount of information available during the recognition phase. So keeping systems patched will make it harder for attackers to weaponize and develop exploits. An effective spam filter will help mitigate delivery of phishing emails. Installing an effective personal anti-malware software can prevent the initial exploit from even occurring, and an effective firewall can prevent a successful callback from reaching the attacker.
Now that we know what cloud pen testing is all about, let's answer the question, how cloud pen testing?
When we talk about common tools and technologies coming to cloud pen testing, I would say that there is no shortage for any such tools for IT security professionals. While some agencies are intended for using a specific cloud provider, for example AWS or Microsoft Azure, while still the rest are cloud agnostic, meaning they are fit to use with any provider. Let's look into some of the most popular cloud penetration testing tools. So the first one will be Nmap. Nmap is a free and open source network scanning tool widely used for penetration testing. So with using Nmap, cloud pen testers can create a map of the cloud environment and look for open ports and other vulnerabilities. So the second one is Metasploit. Metasploit, we usually use it to establish a real world environment for ethical hacking. So Metasploit calls itself as the world's most used penetration testing framework. This is created by the security company Rapid7. So this framework helps penetration testers to develop, test and launch exploits against remote target machines, which gives you more of a real world attack scenario. So the third one is Burp Suite. It is a collection of security testing softwares for web application, including cloud-based web applications. So Burp Suite is capable of performing functions such as penetration testing, scanning, vulnerability assessment. So that many third-party tools are created for cloud pen testing in the AWS cloud itself. For example, the Amazon Inspector tool automatically scans the running AWS workloads for potential software vulnerabilities. Once these issues are detected, this device itself determines the severity of the vulnerability and suggests methods to resolve it itself.
Well, I do know that it's hard to play around with such complex cloud architecture and security. Let's further understand a few best practices that we can go with when we start cloud pen testing.
Cloud penetration testing is both an art and a science, with many tips and advices for security professionals to follow. If we are looking to get started with cloud pen testing, let's be sure to follow some of the best practices. So the first one will be to map the cloud environment. Cloud penetration testing can only be effective when we know what exactly the asset is and what assets are under our control, which is incredibly challenging with the multi-cloud or hybrid cloud setup. The second is understand the cloud's shared responsibility model. We all know that cloud providers and their customers have different set of security obligations, which we generally known as shared responsibility model. And in this practice, we have to have better understanding in what is your responsibility and what is the provider's responsibility. So the third best practice will be to define the requirements and create a roadmap. After finding the right cloud penetration testing team or provider, let's just write down our goals and expectations. This should include a timeline for the testing process, a list of deliverables after the test, and suggestions on how to correct the vulnerabilities discovered. And the fourth best practice will be to establish a plan for the worst case scenario, aka risk management. The cloud pen testing process might uncover a live vulnerability that attackers are already exploiting. So in this scenario, this becomes the worst case scenario or the risk management scenario. Let's take time to establish how we would go about to react and respond and fix the issue and mitigate the damage. Alright, so far so good. We got to know a whole bunch of terminologies and technologies. We should remember that cloud ethical hackers play a crucial role in cloud computing industry. As cyber attacks in cloud infrastructure are rising, ethical hackers ensure that businesses of all sizes and industries have the appropriate defenses in place. As we move to the second generation of cloud security, ongoing permissions and management is a fundamental to protecting organizations from the next generation of cloud security threats.